Well, basically the intention of the referendum in Crossmaglen Creggan Upper was to let the people have their say. When partition was enacted, the border was drawn up by people in Westminster, and local people weren't asked about how they felt about it or had no input into the border being drawn up. So really what happened was that a whole community was cut in two. The hinterland, the natural hinterland of Dundalk and Newry, was split down the middle, with one side being pitted against each other. So really that has been the case since partition occurred. So we thought that it was high time that the people did have their say, and really that's what we intended with the referendum campaign, and we were happy that that's what happened. You know, we got really good engagement locally. We held 3 weeks of a campaign with the vote then taking place towards the end, and you know, we had a lot of community engagement. We had 10k runs, we had public debates, we had you know, public meetings and things like that, and people really came on board, and we got a lot of support for what we were doing.
In terms of just thinking, reflecting back on the result in the People's Referendum, what do you think the message is from that, particularly in response to those who would say that there's no need to have a debate on Irish unity at this point in time?
Well, you know, people who have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo will never want to have a referendum on Irish unity, so you know, it's going to be up to the people to demand it. That's the only way there's change is going to happen. In our referendum there were 2,500 possible voters, and 42% of them actually came out of their own volition on a Saturday to cast their vote, and of those 1,050 we had a 93% yes vote. So, you know, while that's brilliant, I also would commend the 7% who came out and voted no, because it shows that, you know, it was a democratic decision and that people were engaging with the campaign. We were more than happy, because, you know, you have to consider that there wasn't a big media campaign, or there wasn't, by and large our campaign was ignored by the media until really after it happened. So, you know, and we were prepared for that because it was the first time this had been done. I think the media would have a harder job ignoring any future referenda. You know, we can see, the people that came on the committee can see day and daily they live with the effects of partition, the dual currencies, the red tape that businesses have to go through, the mobile phone roaming, mobile phone charges, all of that sort of thing. You know, even differences in speed limits and stuff like that, practical things. People who live next door to schools have to go to different schools. It's crazy the way it impacts on everyday life, and we've been living with that for the past 90 odd years without ever having a real say on it. And you know, the people in our area, we've never just accepted the way things are, and if we think things can be done better, then we have a right to have our say on that. And that's really what we wanted to do, to start a debate at a local level, at a community level, and that's what happened. The community came on board with us, and you know, like, it's great that different politicians have come and debated the fors and against with us as well, and if we can get as much of that debate and conversation going, then that's a success for our campaign.
Would you like to see the People's Referendum held in other parts of Ireland?
Well, I think if the communities there came together to do that, that would be wonderful, and certainly our committee would give them any assistance that they wanted with that. Of course, I'd like to see it replicated anywhere that, you know, felt that they could do it, and I'd like to see it replicated in areas where there might be a no vote as well, and to have the discussion there, and you know, so that we could put the view that it is a good idea and that it would make sense economically and culturally and every sort of way, you know, and to hear what they have to say about it as well.
One of the things that I find really interesting about the referendum was that 1,050 people came out to vote, which is exactly the same amount of people who are sampled in those surveys that are used as evidence against.
It's true, and you know, people might say that we didn't have a representative sample because our referendum happened in a nationalist area, but that's where we're from, so we couldn't hold a referendum anywhere else, you know, and it can't really be said that it's a failing of our campaign that we had such a strong yes vote. Yeah, the turnout, 1,050. The polls, all the online polls and the Belfast Telegraph polls that are cited all the time as showing no demand for Irish unity, you know, we had a comparable number of people participating in our poll where people actually had to leave their house, go to the polling station and cast a vote, which is, you know, a lot more effort involved than just being a keyboard warrior and voting, you know, from the privacy of your own home. So I think what we did was commendable, and it was great. People really came on board and very happy with it.